I think franchisees buy franchises for two reasons. One, it's got to be the systems, the processes that are built in there, right? To make sure it's a quality franchise system that's built properly. But number two, to me, which is the most important thing, is the people. I love helping people. I love being involved with people. I love seeing a franchisee go from 1 store to 10 stores, from 10 to 20, and just kind of living their American dream. And whatever that definition is, I enjoy that. I love that. Don't reinvent the wheel, just make the wheel go faster. You're not building your house, you're building a business, right? And that business has to generate revenue. Every square foot has to generate revenues. My failures have become my foundation, right? So had some wins, had some losses, right? But you learned from those.
How did you constantly grow, develop, learn, and then implement?
Take one step back, because everyone's going to hear the numbers, right? It was over.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, this is a special moment in Mic'd Up history. I'm thrilled to introduce our new co-host who brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to Mic'd Up. He comes with over 20 years in the franchise industry with a proven track record of success in startups and business management across various sectors, including franchising, food and beverage, health and wellness, technology, you name it. His passion lies in supporting entrepreneurs and franchisees to achieve their goals and make a positive impact in the world. He's perfect for this show. He is also known as a servant leader, exceptional in public speaking, and also his commitment to innovation and collaboration. Currently, he serves as the Vice President of Franchising and Development at Icon Restaurant Group in North America, where he continues to make waves in the industry. Get ready to be inspired and informed as we dive into the world of franchising and entrepreneurship. Welcome to the show for the first time, my new partner in crime, Dave Ragosa, a.k.a. Ragu.
That is awesome, Mike. So first off, thank you very much for that introduction, and probably not well-deserved too much, but really appreciate it. And first, I have to say, Mike, I've been thinking about what to say for the first show. And I want to start off by saying, like, really, really grateful for the opportunity, grateful to be a friend of yours, grateful to kind of start this journey together. So thank you for all that. And I'm excited. I'm ready to have fun and kind of start this journey with you.
Dude, I'm excited to have you. Like, just to bring our audience up to speed. So Dave and I met, it was going back to, I think, 2018, which is a handful of years ago now. And we were on a similar mission. We were working with a friend. We got to give Dave Mamano a shout out. He's the guy who connected Dave Ragosa and myself here. And I just knew you had kind of that it factor. I saw the things you were doing. And at the time, you were literally on food trucks, building out franchises, launching trucks in different areas and building. You were at Kona Pizza, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I just was really inspired by like your story and what you were doing. I kept an eye on you a little bit. But time goes on, COVID happened, and you and I kind of lost touch a little bit. And I think it was last year you hit me up and you were talking about wanting to launch a podcast. And after a couple conversations, I don't know if I suggested it or maybe it was your idea. It was a little bit of a mutual agreement that you wanted to come on the show and be a co-host. I was all about it. So super excited to have you, brother.
Thank
you.
Two
paisans. I say partner in crime. Guys, I don't want anybody to take that literally. Okay, we don't get in any trouble over here. No favoritism to the paisans, but it always feels good to have another brother on the show here that gets it.
And I will say, Mike, I think I don't cut across, but I think I probably was pestering you, bothering you to try to do a podcast. So it was a little bit of probably annoying the shit out of you and kind of getting it to this point. So really appreciate it, though.
No, you're pleasantly persistent. Your years and years in sales definitely paid off with that. Like, you just kept getting in my ear, but it was good. I think we're due for a little bit of a facelift on the show, like 200 plus episodes of Mic'd Up. And thank you guys, anyone who's tuning in from the beginning. I know this is like it sounds corny. I feel like I'm just getting started. Guys, I have the same energy today that I did 4 years ago, even more energy, super excited about the show. I have a lineup of people that I never even have to source for guests, which is a really great problem to have, And now that we have you on the show, Dave, I think it's just going to continue to grow. I'm excited about your experience level. Like, I have experience running Social Chameleon, but that's 5 years old, 6 years old. Like you've been doing this 20 plus years. So I'm going to be definitely learning from you. And the two of us are going to be learning from our guests. And as you know, we got a great lineup coming. So here's what I like to do is dive right into your story a little bit. We just talked about it, 20 years plus experience in franchise, right? How did you actually originally get into the franchise game? I'd love to know. And then what has been so magnetic about it? Like you haven't left the space. So share your love for franchising.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, Mike. And where I'll start is kind of my immigrant background and mindset. So family immigrated from Italy. I got to speak. Immigrated from Italy many years ago, and always just had a belief that they came to this country to live the American dream. And it may sound corny, but it is really true when you come from that type of family. And it was really just seeing the world as just a blank slate, and there was so much you can do out there if you really just put your hard work and effort in. And you were going to fail, you're going to make mistakes, but really just trying to go out and do something. So I think it was in my blood from a very early age, and just hard work we were built with. So my dad worked full time and on nights and weekends. He was on the construction site with my uncles and my brother and me, and we were just working all the time. Even growing up playing sports, it was, as soon as my practice was over, I was on the construction site with my dad or my uncle or somebody doing some type of work. And that was just always instilled in me, just continue grinding, continue hustling. And through that process, I just had a love of entrepreneurship, starting my own businesses. And I know that there's a lot of fanfare that, hey, entrepreneurs are awesome, it's easy. And now you're starting to hear some of the real people talk about how hard it is, the challenges, the struggles, and all that is true, right? And I always say, Mike, my failures have become my foundation, right? So had some wins, had some losses, right? But you learned from those, and really just wanted to kind of get into business. Now, being young and not knowing enough about business, franchising really, call to me, if you will. And because I knew I could work hard, but I didn't know business. I didn't know how to put a playbook together, operations manuals, all the stuff to start a business, right? So that's why franchising initially really clicked to me. I actually started my first franchise with an old partner of mine. It was a tropical cafe that was based in Philadelphia years and years ago.
How old were you, Dave, when you started that?
I think I was 26, 27 years old. Didn't know
what
the heck.
That was your first franchise opportunity?
Didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was signing a lease in a mall. Didn't even know what the lease looked like. And I was super excited to start your own business. And that really got us kicked off, right? Crash and burn though, right? Didn't know the business, didn't know leasing at malls and so forth. So did that for a few years. And I think we were a little too ahead of our time. It was a healthy kind of concept. Health food, and you're talking about 2000s, 99, 2000s, right around there, where health and fitness wasn't where it is today. So we're a little ahead of our time, so to speak. But great quality food, great product, but just again, it was just that learning experience. And when you're young,
everyone else was still cranking Big Macs at the time.
Exactly. So that really, to answer your question, Mike, that really is what got me started in the franchising space. And as that my love and as that evolved through it was. I always loved helping. The other part of my calling, I want to call it, is I love helping people. I love being involved with people. I love seeing a franchisee go from 1 store to 10 stores, from 10 to 20, and just kind of living their American dream. And whatever that definition is, I enjoy that. I love that. And the other thing with franchising, Mike, that's awesome is, and really most businesses, I don't get bored and one day you're in operations, and one day you're in franchise development, and one day you're in real estate. There's so many facets to a business that you're growing, and it's super exciting. And I did learn the hard way, right? A lot of things I didn't know. I didn't go to school for it. I didn't get my MBA, but I learned by doing, if you will. And I was building a plane while you're flying the plane. That type of kind of experience.
Dude, that's awesome. So have you noticed in your experience, I know right now with Icon, you're in the restaurant industry, but you've had the food trucks with Kono Pizza, which we'll talk about, like I said earlier, in a moment. But do you feel that there's certain industries that thrive a little bit more in the franchise space than others, or, is it all across the board?
I think it's all across the board. So good question. What I'll say is I think it really goes to the franchisor, right? Are they buttoned up? Do they have all their systems in place? And more importantly, I think franchisees buy franchises for two reasons. One, it's got to be the systems, the processes that are built in there, right? To make sure it's a quality franchise system that's built properly. But number two, to me, which is the most important thing, is the people, right? The people who are running the company, people who are involved in it, no matter what it is, if it's health and fitness, if it's a restaurant space, if it's a service space, it really is just that to make sure those two things really work. And to me, it's the second thing, right? I believe in relationships, Mike. That's why me and you are sitting here. It is all about relationships. So at the end of the day, you're going to hit some rough patches. I don't care if you're in franchising, if you're in business and whatever it is, you're going to hit some rough patches. When you have really good relations with your partners, with your franchisor, franchisee, whatever it may be, that's going to get you through there, right? So I want to make sure that you're communicating properly, goods and bad, right? The good days and the bad days, you're communicating properly with them because that's really when it matters most. So to me, that's the most important thing. So it's really across all sectors.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that should be encouraging. Anyone who's tuning in, we get a lot of entrepreneurs already tuning in, looking to go from their current level to their, to level up their current business. But there's also people interested in, do I start my own thing? Do I check out a franchise model? And the thing that's nice about it is it's like, the old business in a box. We've all heard that over and over again. But like you just said, some have some better operations in place. So you got to do your homework, right? But would you encourage someone that wants to start their own they have a business now and they're thinking about franchising it? Or would you rather say, like, why put all that effort in if the magic tricks already exists? You can just kind of jump on stage and learn the tricks. Which way would you encourage somebody to go?
So what I would say is, and I have some experience in this, right? So part of my journey, I did a little bit of consulting, right? So when I got exited one business before I started another one, or got involved with another business, I did some franchise consulting, and one of my journeys was evaluating businesses that wanted a franchise. And quite honestly, probably 90% of them, I said, no, you're not ready to franchise, right? Either it was the wrong demeanor as a franchisor. They didn't have the right mindset to really help franchisees and help folks. And it was more about the money. And it said, that's great. And that's very important. But you got to have a franchise system. You need a system, a process, something to build on, right? It wasn't, hey, this is how I do things, or kind of blood, sweat, and tears. That's not a system that someone can duplicate, right? So if you can't duplicate your business, that's probably not the right business to franchise. Number two, you got to look at scale, right? So can I scale this business? What type of business is it that I'm able to scale or not scale to a certain level for franchising? And then the third thing I think also we have to evaluate is from when these businesses start, or some think that it's a quick path, Mike, to get to 100 stores, 200 stores and grow their brand. And it's not, right? You get ups and downs and ebbs and flows in that process. And it's actually quite hard. And you have to put the work in the beginning to really grow that business. And I say it takes probably like 5 years to really build a good foundation where you can grow. And you need that mindset that you have to deal with a lot of BS along the way, because you're getting franchise partners that have their own ideas and so forth. So I would say it's a little more challenging. So the long answer to your question is it's probably better. I always say, don't reinvent the wheel, just make the wheel go faster, right? So going into a franchise system, if you have some type of business background, or even if you feel like you know a certain niche. So Mike, we'll use you. Let's say, hey, I like restaurants. I work in restaurants.
Let's use a real example. So
Perfect.
I like where you're going with this. So something that's frustrating me, I'm in Buffalo, New York, as most people tuning into the show might know. And you're in Jersey, right? So we're a good, 8.5 hour car ride, somewhere around there, without, any traffic, away from each other. But our area here, the reason I bring that up is I think in Jersey, maybe I'm wrong, but in Jersey, tell me, is there a lot of options for like more veggie, vegetarian, vegan options? There's probably a lot more today than you've ever seen in your lifetime.
Absolutely.
In Buffalo, it's a little bit behind. There might be like 3 to a bigger city's 20, So that's my point. So the idea I had a few years ago, I'm not vegan currently. I do eat, some meat. I eat chicken. I love salmon, stuff like that. But I do eat healthy. I try to eat really healthy. I'm on a detox right now. And the idea I had a couple of years ago, the company name is already taken, so we may need to change it. And I might need to cut this part out of the episode. I don't want anyone to steal my freaking idea. But tell me what you think of this. Just curious. Veg Out. It's a drive-through service where you can get health. You can get a fresh cup of fruit. You can get, coffee and green tea. You can get like nice salads that are not rinky dink. Like you go to like other fast food and you get their salad and it looks like someone they like stepped on it first and then they handed it to you. So like just really good, healthy options. But the thing is, like, when I'm on the road, and I'm on the road quite a bit visiting my daughter back and forth to Philly, to Buffalo, it's really hard. I pack a lunch literally like I'm going to work. I got a full lunch and I got almonds and all this stuff packed. Veg out. I just think it would be a really cool idea. Why do you think that? What do you think about that? Is that something that could work, or is there a problem with when you get into veggies and stuff because their shelf life is so short that having a fast food store might be a difficult situation?
So I think any concept could work if you put the work in, right? And it may sound simple, but you got to put the work in. And part of that is, in your market, doing your market research, right? So is the demand there? So part of it is, and I gave my story right early on when I started with Tropical Cafe, right? Demand wasn't there. It was a very small percentage of folks that wanted to eat healthy. So it may be that Buffalo is, Buffalo Wild Wings and they want wings and beer, and it's just they're not that type of market that's looking for that, right? So that's first and foremost. You have to know your demos and know, like, hey, is this the market that I'm able to produce and do business in? Because the reality,
I got to jump in right there, Dave. There's a lot of Buffalo people tweaking right now because we don't eat Buffalo Wild Wings in Buffalo. We just have a million real wing joints. We don't even call them Buffalo. I know. We don't call it Buffalo Wings here. But I understand what you're saying. It's pizza, it's wings, we do have, like I said, some pretty cool, like, kind of boutique restaurants will do the vegan thing, but it's usually like a sit down or it's out of the way. I'm talking like we want to have it at a busy corner where you can drive around the building, boom, grab your healthy food and get out. I thought veg out was kind of cool. But so the cafe you're talking about that you had with your partner, how long did that last? And do you think maybe you would consider bringing that back in 2024 or in the future, now that people are more mindful of what they're putting in their bodies, right?
Yeah, for sure. I would say it was we had it for about 3 years. It was a healthy cafe, similar to what you're saying right now, right? So it was healthy salads, healthy bowls, acai bowls before they were acai bowls, teas, coffees, kind of on that health. And it was a grab and go. You could sit down a little bit, but small seating, but you can kind of grab and go type concept. So we were in downtown Philly on Market Street. So exactly what you're saying. And what I'll say is, going back to your other thing is when you do that, especially from a fast casual QSR perspective, and I have a lot of experience in that space as well, is it is the produce, right? So produce spoils very quickly and you have to be mindful of that. So that's where I go back to, like, is the demand there? Because you have to turn and burn. And most importantly, Mike, and no matter what we do in the restaurant space, I don't care what you are selling or what I'm selling. If that quality of food is not there, it's game over. Right. So to me, it starts with that. It starts with people and it starts with quality of food in the restaurant space, so to speak. No matter what you're selling, whether it's coffee, donuts, burgers and fries, it has to start with the quality of food and the team that you're building. Right. Those are most important. So I think those are some of the challenges. I'm not saying it's a no or yes. We're just talking real life here. From an experience,
it would work in a high volume spot, right? So that makes sense. Being that it would be kind of one of its own kind, I think it could potentially be popular here, but it would make sense to put it in an area that would have even more volume than like a Buffalo, because you'd want your first store, and this is good for people to know. Put your first store. You got to set it up for success, because if you're gonna duplicate anything, that first store is gonna. If it doesn't work, there is no second store.
Correct. And in our space, we call it, AUVs, right? So average unit volume. So what is that store revenuing for the year, right? So your point is you got to sell that story and show that story saying, hey, year one was this, year two was this, here's the revenue of hopefully increasing, and the margins are there for you to say, okay, this is a model that I could duplicate now, year over year, and kind of grow that business, and then kind of backfill in markets that may not be what I call B markets, but you want to go into the A markets first, right? So look at your trade area, find your A markets, and then work backwards from there.
Well, I'm planning on moving to Philly to be closer to my daughter. Maybe it would work there. We can do something together. That leads me to Kono then. Kona Pizza. So you had these awesome, like 150 locations, or I guess we would call them trucks. The cool part about them is you can put them anywhere you want. They're on wheels. How did you actually create that franchise? Or I know you had a co-founder, but did you create Kono? And how the heck did you build that to 150 locations? That's awesome.
So and thank you for that. We did not build the cone. So the pizza cone started in Italy, kind of where my roots started, and the co-founder.
Yeah, explain what Kono is too, because there's probably some people who don't know what that is.
So it's take a slice of pizza and roll it up, and it shapes into a cone. And it was a thin slice pizza cone, but true traditional pizza dough. It wasn't, a Hot Pocket or anything like that. It was actually if you took a slice of pizza, a triangle, and you made it and circled it back up, it would turn into a cone. So my co-founder, who started the company with me, kind of was in Italy, found these pizza cones, called him up and said, "Hey, listen, I think we can franchise this in North America." It was licensing out in Europe and Asia and the UA and other markets, but they weren't franchising it. Because of my background in franchising, kind of light bulb went off and said, "Hey, can we make this a franchise model?" Kind of came here to the States. So we built it from the ground up in terms of what the model looked like, what the ROI was. To your point, you said food trucks. We were in we were in inline restaurants or inline stores, of shopping centers. We were food trucks. We actually went into the malls and we did kiosk in the malls, similar to like an Annie Ann's pretzel. So, and it kind of evolved as the brand went on. It evolved across the way, but it was a great learning. And I would say from that journey that I had, Mike, is that's really where I cut my teeth in terms of doing real estate, design and construction, operations, fran dev, like, because you had to wear multiple hats and I had to do everything. And kind of, again, I use that word, building the plane as you go. Nothing's perfect, right? And if you look for perfect, you're never going to find it. It was like, okay, let's kind of build the path and here we go. And really understanding, like, we got to keep moving. We'll figure it out, bring the right people around to do that. So it was a great ride. It was a great journey and it was a great learning experience.
There's nothing like learning experience being in the trenches doing it like you were. But in addition to that, where were you getting like your either training resources? Did you have a mentor? I mean, yeah, there's one thing to kind of figure out how to build a plane, but maybe you want to like hang out with a mechanic a little while to see what they'd recommend you do to build it, right? So How did that go? And by the way, dude, that again, from your first store to 165 on your exit, like right there. I mean, that's all I needed to say in your intro. I've been like, this guy built it from there to there. That's what we're bringing to the show, guys. And that's why Dave is here. He has that experience, and we want to. I'm going to definitely be picking your brain throughout you being on the show, and how you, because everyone who's listening right now who's an entrepreneur wants to obviously scale their business. You've done it, so there's going to be so many different things you can share. But to go back to my question, how did you constantly grow, develop, learn, and then implement?
So to take one step back, because everyone's going to hear the numbers, right? It was over a 10-year process, right? So it's not like, hey, in 2 years you're doing this, right? It takes years, right? And when you're having fun and you're in it, those 10 years go really quick. They feel like, to me, it feels like it was yesterday, right? As crazy as that sounds. So it takes quite some time. And like I said earlier, you really need 3 to 5 years to really build that foundation, which is critically important, right? And that's when you're putting a lot of work in. But through that process, I have been blessed where I've always been humble in terms of reaching out. You're a perfect example, right? Keep bugging you and, hey, Mike, I want to start a podcast. I don't know much about it. I don't know how to produce it. I don't know how to edit it. Tell me what I don't know, right? So I did similar things. So I was in the restaurant space. I was in the franchising space, a little bit in the restaurant space, but a perfect example is I never built a food truck before, right? But I saw the need of food trucks and I saw, right, this can go into different events and venues and really kind of expand the brand and as a marketing tool as well. I just reached out to 3 or 4 of the biggest food truck vendors in the country, and I called them and I bugged them just like I did to you. And 1 or 2 of them were actually in Florida. I flew down to Florida, met the guys and said, hey, how do you build these things? Show me how you build them. What's the cost involved? And really just learning from them, what does that look like? And then from there, kind of going back, and I'm a firm believer of reverse engineering. So reverse engineer, hey, where does this truck need to land? What's the cost? What's the ROI to a franchisee for them to become profitable? And then let's work backwards from there to kind of build this out. Same thing with the kiosk we did in the mall. I had never built a kiosk in a mall, right? I was working with Simon, GGP, Matrix, some of the larger mall operators in the country. I didn't know anything about building kiosks. I pretended I did, right? But I would leave that meeting and I was like, all right, who are the best kiosk manufacturers? There was a company out in Colorado, flew out there, sat with them and said, hey, show me your kiosk. How do you build these things? Same thing, just kind of just drilling down, and understanding that. But just really reaching out to different folks who have, to your point, Mike, who have done it. and saying, hey, what don't I know, right? I kind of know how to build a business. I understand structure, I understand kind of processes, but how do you do this thing? And you'll hear me say a lot through this, guys, and through our podcast is I've learned your success is our success, right? So I have to make everyone else successful in order for us to be successful. It can't just be one way, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. So again, 20 years experience in the space. What innovations have you seen? And anything where you just feel like the way that franchise is built now, build it so it's something that could be replicatable, is that the technology we have now is obviously more advanced. You see things like AI. I'm not quite sure how that plays into it, but just it doesn't have to be necessarily technical innovations, but what have you seen change over the years?
So without question, it is from the tech side, right? Without question, no matter what industry you're in, so whether you're in health and fitness, you're in technology, you're in services, you're in restaurant space, I think the core business is the core business. That's never going to change, right? You need some good burgers, you need a good steak, you need some good fries, you need quality food, right? So that's not going to change. I think that the tech aspect of where we've come, whether that's social media marketing, right, and kind of what you do, Mike, and kind of your skill set of like, hey, marketing differently. So I will tell you, 15 years ago was a lot of direct mail, right, direct to consumer marketing to homes, and your mailbox was, for those who have mailbox, your mailbox was filled like crazy with different coupons. Right, has shifted dramatically to digital, right, on your phone, on your email campaigns and other aspects of it. So without question, it hit that market. The other technical side of it, I'll say, is just from a I like to call them guests, not consumers or customers. So from a guest perspective, two things. One, how we kind of speak to the guests. So there's a lot of technology now in your point of sale system. So as example, let's say you were a guest of a restaurant and you were geo-targeted and you were next to that restaurant during lunchtime, it could ping you, hey, stop by and get $5 off a burger or whatever it is. And then when you're into the restaurant, right, there's a lot of more guest-friendly user experiences. So guests who want to pay at the table, that wasn't there 5 years ago, it is today. The older consumer doesn't want to do that, but hey, here's an option that the actual waiter or waitress or whatever kind of restaurant you're at, you can pay traditional way, if you will. So that technology has changed dramatically. So I will tell you what I'm seeing is I think that's going to continue evolving. And then as the franchisee, this is one real important is you have to reinvest in technology, kind of what I call back of house or harder house. So because labor continues to increase, minimum wages continue to increase, we see what's going on in California. And California is probably one of the states that is doing a huge push in technology. You can't afford, it's an ROI game, right? You know what your revenue is, you know what your expenses are. You can't afford as many team members, unfortunately, as you could when you're paying them 13 and now they're getting paid $20 an hour, right? So what are they doing? You're putting technology in the back of the heart of the house on the simple things. Usually the fry station. So there's robots now that do fries, that do all the deep frying of all the products is a robot. It probably costs $100,000, Mike, but you're going to get that ROI back in a year, right? So not every franchisee can do that. But the larger ones realize, hey, I'm going to... The
robot doesn't call in sick either or have any personal issues. Well,
exactly.
At least now, maybe the AI pretty soon will be like, I identify as an iRobot. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
But, dude, the movie The Founder, right? Some people love that movie. I know I appreciate what Ray Kroc did, obviously, for creating the whole concept. He understood the vision of the business. The McDonald brothers were cool that they created it, and obviously there was the drama between the parties, but I think, they played their cards wrong. They tried to lowball them and it backfired. And I think that's a business lesson that if you would have been in the ship with him, you would have went a lot further and been a big part of the success. And the McDonald brothers didn't even get to enjoy the big picture success of McDonald's because they didn't see, they weren't visionaries like Ray was. Love or hate Ray, some people think he's kind of a jerk. And you can agree in certain things he definitely was. But at the same time, I think he just wanted McDonald's to be the biggest and greatest franchise fast food company ever, and he achieved that, at least at that point in time. I bring that movie up because I love the scene where they're like on the tennis courts, remember? And he was kind of chalk drawing, this is where the fryer is, this is where you're going to stand. And the whole idea was that we can improve, the speed factor in the kitchen. Yeah. Efficiency. Couldn't think of the word. Thank you. That's why I brought you on the show right there for efficiency. I got you. All right. We don't need you, Dave. We're good.
Yep.
But yeah, the efficiency. So talk about that. That's something that you obviously had to figure out with some of the franchises that you've been a part of, right?
100%. And that really is, every, it's funny, I was in a meeting yesterday, the day before, and we were talking about kind of square footage. And I said, every square foot has to make you money, right? That you have to look at it. And I think when you think of efficiency, right, and when franchisees are looking at building stores and so forth, as an example, or any business person, right, realize you're not building your house. You're building a business, right? And that business has to generate revenue. Every square foot has to generate revenue. So when you're doing that, we have a saying in kind of casual dining space is a little different, right? Is you build from the back to the front. So you want to build from the heart of house, so your kitchen area outward. And I think where some restaurateurs who are great chefs and they may be great restaurateurs and they love the business, they want the front to be awesome and big and glamorous and fantastic. And then like, oh, now we have to build a kitchen and here's the square footage and it's probably, 2/3 smaller than it should be. And then they realize the output is not there, right? I can't turn and burn and generate enough revenue because I don't have enough square footage for the output. Where I have a different philosophy, we have a different philosophy where we look from the back front. So we focus on the kitchen, making sure it's efficient, making sure it can generate the revenue you need to, and then you build out the rest of a restaurant.
Yeah, you're looking at functionality and practicality, and they're looking at more of the aesthetics of it, right?
Correct. And that will come, right? That all, I'm not saying that's not important because that's part of the guest experience, but that all will come. But it's like, perfect example, Mike, is like building a car, right? Without the engine, I don't care how pretty the car is, it means nothing, right? So it's almost like, hey, build the engine first, and then we'll build the car around it, right? That to me is the right philosophy.
Hey guys, over the last few episodes, you've heard me talk about Magic Mind. Well, guess what? I'm not going to stop talking about it because I absolutely love this stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing I'm holding it up right here. It's a productivity elixir. And what I love about it is it helps you crush your procrastination. It puts you in this flow state. So everything kind of starts to slow down. You don't get the jitters when you're actually getting energy. You can get more done. As an entrepreneur, you got so much stuff going on or whatever you're doing in business and life, running around with the family and the kids. First thing I do in the morning is I crush one of these bad boys right here. I love it. It does have matcha green tea in it. So personally, I already like matcha green tea. It's something I drink in addition to the Magic Mind shots every day. It also has nootropics for focus. Matcha gives you energy, adaptogens for less stress, and vitamins for immunity. I absolutely love this stuff. With Magic Mind, you can do more and stress less. And here's the thing, I love it so much, I want to pass along my savings to you so you can use my discount code. MikeDup20 will save you 20% off on your order. You can get the link if you're on YouTube, go to the description. If you're listening to this on the audio players like Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, check out the show notes. It's clickable right there. Use code MikeDup20 and you'll save 20% off. Again, Magic Mind, do more, stress less. And let's get back to the show. When you think back, you're reflecting back on all these different companies. You've had varying levels of success, but a lot of different success. Obviously, we talked about Kono. 0 to 165 stores in 10 years. Reflecting back on all that, you've dealt with certain challenges. I'm sure you've seen them come up like a common denominator over and over and over again. So with your ability to look back, because you've been in there, you got the bruises, you got the bumps, you're talking to a fresh entrepreneur, franchisor, it would be, right? Or would it be franchisee?
Franchisee.
You're talking to a franchisee. What's something you would tell them like, hey, I hit my head against the wall, 18 times on the same problem. Go this way instead. Is there something that comes to mind as like a recurring thing that pops up quite a bit?
For sure. I would say there's probably 2 or 3 things. So to me, number one is real estate. Finding the right location, right? What I call kind of main and main. Your spot needs to be at main and main. And I have a saying, Mike, and you're going to hear me say this a lot. I have a lot of sayings because I've learned a lot and I've made a lot of mistakes. But one of my sayings is that you want to, be aggressive but patient. And meaning you want to be aggressive about looking at as many locations as you possibly can, but patient picking the right one. I think as new franchisees, you get super excited. So you want to sign the lease or buy a piece of property on your first location. And that's typically not the best one. It could be, but typically it's not. So be aggressive looking at as many locations, but patient in picking the right one. So that probably over the past 15 or 20 years has been a huge learning for me. I've made mistakes that way as well and learned from them, right? So that to me is number one. Number two is cash, right? whatever you think that project's going to cost, you probably have to add another 20-25% to that. So I'm very focused in on, especially in this stage of my life, really focusing on with franchisees, making sure they're capitalized properly to really grow their business, realizing that, hey, you're not going to pull a profit out of this from month one, year one. As you're growing the business, you have to reinvest into your business. So don't think that even if you're profitable for the first year, don't pull that cash out. That's going to get pumped back into the business. And of course, you're building pro formas and budgets and projections, but pumping that money back into it, right? That's a mistake that I have made early on when I was in my 20s and early 30s, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So company makes a profit, we pull that profit out, fantastic. And then 2 years later, like, oh, we need a capital injection in the company. And we're like, wait, what? Right? Because you didn't know, right? And you realize, oh, I should have had a little slush account. I should have kept on reinvesting in the business. And if I had put some more resources in it, we wouldn't have been where we were in certain things. So those are learning curves. So finances for sure, real estate for number 2. And number 3 is, which I was at fault definitely in my 20s and early 30s, was being humble to realize, raise your hand for help. Right. If you need help, I didn't know it all. I pretended I knew it all. Right. And I didn't know it all. And let's be honest, you're not. Everyone, Mike, has their sweet spot. Right. And everyone has their thing, whether it's in sales, operations, finance, whatever it is. But get the right people around you, or raise your hand and ask friends. Right. There's a lot of people out there. And that's a beautiful thing of kind of what we're doing today with our podcast, with social media. We can really talk to a lot of folks. And me and you have been involved in some really good networking companies, if you will, right, and businesses, and they realize, like, hey, I'll call somebody. I pay, like, Mike, I don't know crap about, marketing, help me here, right, type thing. So I think those 3 things are critically important when you're trying to grow a business, is making sure that those things are all buttoned up, and just ask. There's a lot of great, I will tell you, there's a lot of great folks, Mike, that will, won't hesitate to ask, and they really get some good resources right from there. One thing I will say is, and I know I'm sometimes long-winded, but this is important, is what I have found is, in our culture, if you see someone older than 50, 60, it's like, they don't know what's going on. And the reality is they know more than what we know. And although things change over years and over decades, things change for certain, right? How we advertise, how we do certain things. Social media wasn't around. What I say, core principles of business don't change, right? So you need good budgeting, you need good marketing, you need good operations, you need good real estate, right? Those things will not change in a business no matter what the technology is. And really leaning on some of those folks who have done it before and looking at their roadmap, and then calling them and reaching out to them saying, hey, I have questions for you. If I would tell you, Mike, the biggest thing I've done the last 5 years in my personal growth is that I reached out to the best of the best of CEOs, vice presidents, you name it, and said, hey, listen, can we just have a cup of coffee? Tell me about your journey. And learning little nuggets from each person was huge for me.
Yeah. And what I found is people love to share and love to help, because we all been in a spot now, we're further along in our journey, and we remember what it felt like to be in that moment. So most entrepreneurs do want to help other people. Like we rise up together. Right. And so, you might be afraid to ask because it seems like, why is this guy going to give me his time? But the thing is, he wants to help you. He's just waiting for you to say, hey, can you help me? Raise your hand. Hey, man, can you help me out, dude? And something I saw recently, I love the clip. Quentin Tarantino, the movie director, was talking about his success. And he was like, the thing I did that really helped me out is I didn't try to do it all myself, right? I didn't know anything about lighting in the beginning. I'd hire a lighting director. They've done projects before. I would share my vision with them, and then how I expected it to look at the end, and I'd let them go and do it. He's the director, so different acting, whatever he needed. He needed different people on the set. They've done that before. Hey, you've done a great job before. I needed to run with that, and then just share what you're trying to get. Set designer, choreography. Costumes. He doesn't know how to build a costume or sew a costume, but there are people who've done it hundreds and thousands of times professionally. Bring in the best people around you. Now, the pushback on that is great, Mike. He had a budget to do it so he can get the best people around him. In the beginning, you don't, though. I know Tarantino or Robert Rodriguez. I think of Robert Rodriguez, he's a director who's friends with Tarantino. He did like the Desperado movie with Antonio Banderas, one of my favorite kind of campy films. He did that, made that movie. The first movie part of that was called El Mariachi. All right. Very entrepreneurial. You know what he did? He sold his body to science. He let them do lab tests. He made $7,000. With $7,000, he got just enough camera equipment and film and a couple buddies. They rented out like a bus as like their big prop. They drove a bus across the street and had him swinging off this line for his big special effect in that film. He sold the film for $100,000 to Columbia, and then off of that, then he was able to get Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, a couple other good people, Daniel Trejo, I think. Yeah, he's the knife thrower on that. So what does that tell you? Like, yeah, you got to get started and get dirty and figure out how to do it. But over time, get the right people in place. In your business, I don't know how to build the storefront side of it. Well, there are people you can bring on the team to do that. Or I know Dave Ragosa, so I can connect you with him. He's done it 100 times. So why don't you just let him point you in the right direction? Why waste your time trying to figure it out when other people already have it figured out? Yep. And they actually are willing to help you. So I think that's really awesome. Share one of your favorite stories, Dave. Like, there's got to be some that just comes to you, a success story, whether it's your own story, maybe it's a part of the team you were on, maybe it's someone you saw them provide for their family. I don't want to give you too much, but just what comes to mind when I just said success story in franchising over the last 20 years?
There's probably so many that I could point to that I'd say, and I said it earlier, seeing someone go from 1 to 10 stores, right, through that journey. I don't want to point out a particular person, but what I'll say is a particular theme is really seeing, husband, wife, take out, probably a home equity loan to start a business and really put the work in, right? So them both being in the business and working it and growing it and being tough first year, tough second year, third year, started seeing some profit in it. Following the guidelines of the franchise system, but more importantly, also following the guidelines of business and reinvesting in your business, putting money away, doing all the things you're supposed to be doing. And then fast forward 5 years later, kind of seeing them owning 5 stores, and like saving cash, right? It's a compounding interest. The same thing in franchising in all businesses. I go back to that 5-7 years. You put the work in within 5 or 7 years and build a really good foundation. You only may get 3, 4, 5 stores, Mike, in a QSR space, let's say, or smaller business in 5 years. But once you've built that foundation, the next 5, you build 10 stores, right? Now you're at 15 stores. And the next 5, you're building 20 stores, right? So it compounds very quickly at that point once you've built the systems in. I will say that, so that's been a great success story. And a little learning there is, when you're younger, and some of our younger entrepreneurs and some of our younger business owners here, yes, you want to be aggressive, but don't be too aggressive, right? What you think is going to happen in a year is not going to happen in a year. It's probably going to be 3 years, right? So always move fast, but with a long-term vision in your journey, through that process. I will tell you, for me personally, kind of a story is, success for me, Mike, is I'm here. I'm still in the space. I'm still doing it. I still love it after 20 years, ups and downs, ebbs and flows and so forth. So to me, I look at the success as just continued growth, right? Continued growth, doing various different things in the industry, helping other people. That to me is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. And now you're working with Icon, which is a huge organization in the franchise restaurant space. And Ford's Garage. So I got to share this with my audience. So my father, he worked at the Ford plant for 32 years in Buffalo, at Woodlawn. You guys would know it. The locals know it. He was on the stamping line, stamping out the car doors, the window frame. He was stamping the doors and all that. 32 years working there. And so our family was always a Ford family because of that, just our love of the company. My grandfather worked there. I got cousins that worked there. Uncles my one uncle's a foreman. So Ford is a great company in our family because, it's been just a really cool to see how many family members have gone through the Ford plant. But now you are working with Icon, and one of the restaurants in the family there is Ford's Garage. So talk about what you're doing with Ford's Garage. It's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? So Icon Restaurant
Ford's
Group,
Garage, by the way, guys, is actually a restaurant, right?
Yep.
Like
casual
just
dining,
like with Kono, there's going to be people who probably never heard of it.
Yep. Casual dining, burgers and beers, right? Core menus, burgers and beers. They are the only franchise, or we are the only restaurant franchisor with Ford Motor Company. So obviously Ford has a ton of licensing programs out there, more retail right side of it, the dealerships and so forth, but not on the restaurant space. So it's an honor and privilege to be part of they call it the Blue Oval, to be part of the Blue Oval. And it's a great story because you're really getting burgers and beers and really great casual dining. We are not a sports bar by any means. There's nothing wrong with sports bars. Love them. We're more of a family environment. I say it's the 8-year-old to the 82-year-old Mike, where you've been to a Ford's. It's got the antique Model A's, Model T's out there. It's got a bunch of engines and different trinkets in the restaurant. So a kid walks in and just their eyes light up because they want to sit in the cars and kind of have fun. And then you have everyone all up to the 82-year-old who you just tell the story about dad, right? Like, hey, I worked there. I was an engineer there. It's some type of affiliation to the brand. And it's that story that's just amazing. And I like to use the word today, I think the industry is shifting to entertainment, where you're having food and entertainment combined. And I think Ford's has done a great job kind of combining the entertainment aspect of it, where you're just kind of combining both of those and having a great guest experience, through that process. And it's just a fun place to work. So even team members that are at the restaurants, I mean, they love working there. Stores do very well. Franchisees are very, very happy, successful. So it's just it's a great story, great vibe. I spent many years on the QSR fast casual space, which for those who don't know, think of, Sonic, Arby's, Dunkin' Donuts. That's kind of fast casual QSR, a little different model than a casual dining space. And even Kono, for that matter, was more in the QSR space. Now it's kind of casual dining. So burgers, beers, salmon, right? You can get a different array of different things, bar food, of course, as well. But that whole gamut of it, and it's a learning for me. And I loved it because I'm like, hey, I knew a lot about every part of the business, but I didn't know enough about casual dining until I got involved into the Icon group and so forth. And it's been a lot of fun.
That's really cool. I always felt like I'd be someone who would do a great job, like helping run a restaurant, because my customer service, man, that's the biggest thing. Like whether I started off, I was working in a music store, right? Working with people coming and looking for amps, guitars, drums, the whole thing. The thing I cared about was just giving people great customer service, right? So your experience working with me is going to be way above average of just, I got you in and got you out, And so I did the same thing when I was at Sleep Number or selling insurance at a kitchen table. Like I really wanted you to have a great experience and a memorable experience. It wasn't about me, but it was about just making sure people felt like, wow, I got taken care of there. Same way I'd want my parents to get taken care of by someone who sold them something if it wasn't me, right? So like that, in that restaurant feeling, it's literally someone's coming into your house and you're serving them food. It's that Italian custom of, we want to take care of you. You come in, we got you taken care of. And so that's cool that you get to experience that, but at a different level. You get to see that at multiple stores. And my brother's in the Tampa area and in Lakeland, and he took me to one of the stores to see Ford's garage. It was really cool. The restaurant, the Model T's out there, Model A's, I think you said too, right? All the way down to the details. You go in the bathroom, you're taking a leak in the urinal. Isn't it like a tire or something? Or
the sinks are tires and the urinals are kegs.
Kegs, yeah. It's pretty cool, right? The sink's a tire. You're washing your hand in a tire. So I thought that whole thing, just the detail to have the Ford brand just kind of ingrained in the whole restaurant was cool.
For sure. And Mike, I want to call out one thing that you said, which is super important. And this goes for anybody who is in any business, that guest experience. And you kind of said it in terms of like, you treat people like family, right? And I truly believe that. And I think the businesses that are kicking butt in today's world are understanding that, like, hey, the guest matters. The customer matters. If it's a service business or whatever business you're in, that person matters. And, again, one of my sayings is, treat them like it's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister. You want to treat everyone like that's who you're speaking to across the way, because that is somebody else's mother, someone else's father, someone else's brother or sister. So it's critically important that you do that. And it really has to come from a good place. But the businesses, no matter what you're in, that are doing that are the ones that are dominating. The ones that are just looking at the bottom line and ROI. You might have a win here or there, a good month here or there, but you're not lasting.
Right, because you're going to get that same thing from the next company. So you're just 100% of your success is based on the product, and other people are going to have great products too. But the reason that they go back to a certain product like an Apple or whatever you like, is because your experience working with a rep. They took care of me. I went to the Genius Bar, and they took care of me. They know what they're doing over there. Where you go maybe buy a different product, and it's like you knew more about it than the guy selling it to you did, and that never feels good, right? You're in the middle of Best Buy. They don't care what computer they sell, so the guy who's at the computer guy. I'm not trying to knock a company right now. I shouldn't have name dropped, but my point is, you know, the customer experience, like you said, man, 100% is pinnacle, pivotal as well. So one thing we talk about on the show, I know we got to wrap up. I always say, you know how I end up. Every episode ends with be great and be grateful. And I want to say I'm grateful for you. Super excited for you to be the co-host. I'm mic'd up. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot. You and I are going to learn a lot. Our guests are going to learn a lot. Our audience is going to learn a lot. And obviously, just like in business, the customer service is the most important thing. In podcasting, not to get all sappy on everybody, but the audience is who we're catering to. Like, without you guys tuning in, our show goes nowhere. And Dave and I we do this for fun, but what we get jazzed up about is knowing that you're actually taking things you learned on the show and you're actually going and doing something with it to be successful for you and your family. Last question for you, Ragu. Ready for this?
Over, Mikey. Yep.
I've only asked it once before, I think, on the show. How do you define greatness?
Tough question. How do I define greatness? I would say that, you know, what's on my heart right now is I define greatness, you know, helping others. And I know that may sound corny, but it really means something. When I say help others, it's not just in business, it's helping others in your community. It's helping others in your family, helping others around you. I think, you know, where I'm at and where I'm seeing in the world and all the stuff, and not to get into it too much, is everyone's quick to knock people down and call out their mistakes and tell you how bad you are and this and that. How about just reaching a hand out, right? So me, greatness is being humble enough to help somebody else and realize that we all make mistakes. And trust me, this is my first podcast, guys. I'm going to continue mistakes. I'm sure I made a few on this episode. I'm going to make a few on a few other ones, but just being humble enough to really help somebody, I think that's greatness. Because greatness to me is connected to legacy. When I look at legacy, Mike, and I say, all right, when God calls me and says, hey, it's time to go, you know, what is going to be my legacy? That, you know, that is that my greatness, right? And that I help enough people along the way. It doesn't matter where you live, what you drive, but how much money you have. And I know people hear that all the time and so forth, but it really is true, right? When you sit back and you have your last few moments, none of that's going to matter. It's like, hey, did I take care of my family? Did I take care of my friends? Did I take care of my community? You know, that to me is really, really greatness. And it's kind of what you said, where we're kind of doing the show, why I'm doing the show is really to help early business people, early entrepreneurs, and really not just business entrepreneurs, just anyone in general who has a question, who needs help. I wish there was, you know, where when I grew up, right, this wasn't where it is today, right? So imagine like all the resources that young kids, young entrepreneurs, and even for that matter, any age, it doesn't matter, right? It just, we live in a space now that we can reach out and talk to a ton of people, have people on our show, which we're going to have, which I'm super excited about, and pick their brains, right? It's just, that to me is greatness, is just building an ecosystem that just, we're here to help everyone and lift everyone up.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome answer. One of the things when I was doing a little research on you, Dave, is I noticed that you are a servant leader and you really live it by design, and it's something you're intentional about. And so that answer doesn't really surprise me, but it is cool to hear it defined that way, because I think a lot of times people, when they hear greatness, they think of just results, but it's the things you do once you've already hit those great results and you're helping the people around you and your community and giving them a hand up, not a handout, and just a really awesome, just a great, I'm just so happy that we reconnected recently and have you on the show, brother. This is going to be so much fun. And by the way, you did great. This being one of your first podcast interviews. I know you did a couple in the past, but I think you're great. And this is going to be an awesome partnership here, working with you on the show and helping bring great content to our audience.
I'm excited, Mike. I really am. And again, I'll tell everyone, you know, have fun with us. You know, let's just kind of learn together. Let's live together. Just super grateful to be on the show, Mike. Super grateful to kind of go on this journey with you. I think we're going to continue doing great things together. I just know it. I feel it. I'm excited for it, man. I will say, Mikey, you kind of glassed over it, but to have over 200 episodes, I mean, it's ridiculous, right? That's awesome in itself, man. So, most people aren't doing that. So you're doing it, man. And I just say it's the activity and the intention. So I'm glad that you've honored me to kind of be part of the show and kind of help you do this through this process and kind of learn together. So I'm excited, man.
Yeah, love you, man. That's awesome. Love to hear it. Guys, thank you so much for hanging with us all the way to the end. A lot of great information here. I think if you guys were driving or listening to this at the gym, what you're going to want to do is go back and take some of those notes and then take action on the notes. Dave gave you so many awesome nuggets today, just things to apply to your business. And if you're interested in the franchising space, I think the direction the show's going, and we're not only going to cover franchising, but you can see the direction that the show's going in is going to have a lot of that coming from Dave, and just different information for myself. But we want to help you out. I mean, that's the reason we do this show, is just to allow you to get what you're looking at of life, and that's your passion, that's your mission. And I would say be brave and bold in pursuit of your dreams. And we just want to be another avenue to help you get there. So my thank you message to you is that, man. Just thank you guys for tuning in. Those that have been here for a long time, appreciate you. If you're new to the show, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Got to do the triad right there. And if you subscribe, you'll turn your notifications on. So anytime we do a new YouTube release, because this show is not only audio, I do have a full video version go up on YouTube. You can comment there as well. And if you guys are brave and would like to give us a comment or a review on Apple, that does help our listing as well. More people. So if you love the show and you want more people to hear it, you could share it with your friends directly, or you could write a review, and that's just going to help Apple tell it to go to more people. So that's my little ask for you guys. Like I said earlier, I like to end every episode to be great and be grateful, and I'm grateful for you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.